Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, and welcome back to Wish I Knew. In today's episode, I'll be sharing everything you need to know about Out and About, which has been a very highly anticipated cozy game that is finally here. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Out and About is a cozy life simulation game where you're tasked with helping restore the town of Portobello after a storm has blown through. So you'll help the community find their footing by cooking them delicious recipes and brewing herbal remedies, all using foraged plants and fungi, which you'll also learn to identify in a way that translates to the real world. In Out and About, you do start off by creating your own character, and in the demo there was a really wide variety of options available. This included skin tone with 18 options to choose from, plus additional skin details. You can also choose an eye shape and color, including different colors for each eye. You can customize your nose shape, mouth shape, and color. There were also 43 different hairstyles with textured options available. You can also mix and match the overall hairstyle with different fringe options and completely customize the color and highlights. You can also choose the eyebrow shape and color, then pick from a range of accessories, glasses, facial hair, and piercings. The character you create is free from any gender restrictions. In fact, you actually don't select a body type or gender at all to start with, and rather just set your own pronouns. So everything here is mix and match. According to the developers, you will be able to change up your look at any time throughout your gameplay, and will also be able to unlock new clothing to customize further with. I will say this is probably one of the more thoughtful and diverse character creators that I've seen when it comes to smaller indie projects. Just as some examples, you're able to create a character that has vitiligo, heterochromia, or a cleft lip. There is also a headscarf option available from the very beginning. There's even more to choose from, but these are just some of the standout examples. By the way, friends, if you find these videos helpful, let me know by shining the lovely like button and sharing your thoughts with me down in the comments. Plus, make sure you're subscribed to the channel with your notifications on so you don't miss out on any future videos in the Wish I Knew series. So the story starts when you arrive in this idyllic coastal town of Portobello to stay with your Granny May after a terrible storm has hit, which has actually triggered a landslide that has left the buildings in absolute shambles. You'll get to work helping the community restore, repair, and decorate the town, turning it into a haven. However, not everyone is on your side, because the dubious, petty, and loud lawyers, that's what they're called, are eyeing up one of the town's iconic buildings for demolition, meaning you'll have to do your best to help the locals protect their town. So we've got the classic evil corporation trying to take over their charming little town trope, which I find usually offers a pretty good level of stakes and drama without taking away from your peaceful, cozy vibes. Now, apparently the game is set in an open world, though I'm not sure how truly open it will be. It will likely offer a smaller explorable area at the launch of early access to be expanded upon over the course of development, but we'll have to wait and see. There are said to be forests, grasslands, wetlands, and alpine mountains to explore, so there will be some unique biomes to enjoy. Since we're talking about world exploration, I also wanted to give a little nod to how precious the characters' skipping and running downhill animations are. It's such a cute little touch. You can also jump actually, though I didn't find a reason to do so in my time with the demo, but I do love the freedom of a jump. There are also some really nice forest bathing spots where you can just sit down and chill, soaking up the atmosphere of the surrounding area, sort of like a little meditation. Now, the main hook of the game is, of course, the foraging, which also just happens to be the standout gameplay feature in my opinion, at least based on the demo. You'll learn to identify tons of 100% real-life plants and mushrooms across different seasons, all found in their natural habitats, which is the temperate zone. The in-game process of identification is done by photographing undiscovered forageables, which will actually sparkle in the world to grab your attention. Once you take a picture with your camera, you'll unlock their corresponding foraging cards, which look like little Polaroids, and these will be stored in your field guide. Here, you can find interesting information about and images of each plant. Now, the challenge here is that each plant patch in the world will contain up to 2 plants that are lookalikes, so it will be important to compare them carefully to tell which is which. but the foraging cards will help guide you, offering identification clues about the plant's different parts, like the leaves, stem, and flowers. Once you successfully identify the forageables in each plant patch, you can begin harvesting. And harvesting is done at your discretion, so you'll select the plant from which you'd like to harvest, and here it will clearly indicate which part of the plant you can take and why. For example, you might like to take the ribwort plantain leaves because they have strong antibacterial properties and taste great in salads. Or maybe you'd like to take the daisy flower to use in salves for pain relief. You'll take your little clippers and pick which parts of the plant you'd like to collect and which you'd like to leave behind. And you can monitor the plant's health bar as you do this to ensure you don't overharvest. You'll also learn how to forage safely by sorting plants into categories of edible and non-edible based on their different parts. This is done at a sorting table where you'll be presented with what you've collected. When you identify each plant correctly, you'll be awarded with curiosity points, which is an action-based currency. But don't worry about needing to memorize the names because you can consult your foraging cards to be super certain about your identifications. And you can also skip the quiz entirely if you're not interested. But honestly, if you're actually interested in learning how to identify these real-world forageables, this is a great way to help solidify that knowledge. The team also noted that it was important to them to include lots of poisonous and inedible lookalikes of both plants and mushrooms, because being cautious and knowing what not to pick is an important skill that they would like players to learn. So the game offers a safe environment to learn about poisonous and toxic plants and mushrooms, teaching you to recognize them in real life. Now, what do you do with everything that you foraged? Well, turn them into delicious recipes and useful herbal remedies, of course. The developers claim that every single recipe found in Out and About is real, and step-by-step instructions will be provided in the case that you would like to try making them at home. However, it's super worth noting that the preparation system is not as interactive as I was anticipating based on some of the previous marketing materials. It seems like the team has decided to pivot away from cooking mini-games and towards more of a strategy-based system called the Maker's Club. Once you select a recipe, you'll choose from a number of different cooking partners found in the community to help out, and each character will offer unique perks and grant different buffs to the finished product and its quality. I personally have mixed feelings about this because I was really looking forward to learning some real-world recipes through in-game actions, specifically like chopping, stirring, simmering, and such. At the same time, I totally understand if the team's limited resources needed to be directed towards other areas of the game, like the foraging itself, which is very important. But I do think it's super important to take note of this, since the game does advertise as having cooking, and I think lots of folks could be disappointed to learn what the actual cooking system really is. Now, on a more positive note, once you do create different recipes and herbal remedies, you can sell them at the local farmers market to the townsfolk. And this minigame is fun because you'll be tasked with matching your customers' individual needs and concerns with an appropriate food or remedy. For example, something hydrating, something savory, or maybe something that can be used as skincare. You'll be able to select from everything you've created and can add up to 3 items to the customer's cart, doing your best to increase their overall happiness. The system isn't punishing at all because you can still sell them items you've created even if they don't match their needs exactly. And also, just based on the demo, it doesn't seem like this minigame will be timed, so it's not a race. You'll be able to take your time, mindfully curating a selection of goods that will best suit your customer and chat with them along the way. Over time, you can grow the farmers market by inviting the townsfolk and those who you meet when you're out and about to open their own stalls featuring their own unique items and interests. You can even trade ingredients and recipes with the locals to expand your inventory and catalog. I think it's most important to note that Out and About is releasing into early access. Although at the time of recording this, there isn't actually the standard early access information section available on the game's Steam page, we do still have some details about what we can expect in terms of the game's content. At early access launch, there will be over 55 real plants, fungi, and seaweed that you can learn to identify, plus over 90 tasty recipes that can be prepared and sold at the local markets. You will also be able to build friendships with the neighbors of Portobello, and it seems like there will be a relationship leveling system with 3 friendship levels and special quests available. You will also be able to restore your childhood home and bring life back to the community with dozens of community projects to complete. And altogether, the team estimates that it will offer between 17 and 25 hours of gameplay. Features that will be added over the course of early access but will not be available at launch include a rideable mount, new seasons, new plants, minigames and recipes, new chapters of the story, new friendship levels and quests, new features, which could mean anything, and improvements based on community feedback. So a couple things that are really important to note here is that you will not be able to experience all of the seasons at launch, and you will also not be able to complete the story at launch, which I know can be some really big make or breaks, especially that incomplete story. I did also want to mention that the demo had controller support, so it is quite likely that this will carry over into the early access experience. Overall, I think this game is perfect for anyone who really wants to learn about plant and fungi identification. I absolutely love the foraging minigame and identification process, and think this is absolutely the highlight of the game. This is also almost certainly going to be a more slow-paced, laid-back experience, which is great if you're actually looking for a true cozy game that doesn't present too much risk or too high of stakes. I also think it's really important to note that early access is not for everyone. The game will not be complete, so you have to be comfortable with getting the game at likely a discounted price and not receiving the full experience up front. However, you will have the opportunity to help shape the future of the game by playing early and providing feedback to the team. So if you're extra passionate about the vision that this game has, which I think is really unique and lovely in so many ways, then this might be a really awesome experience for you. As I always say, you know yourselves best, and whether you'd like to jump in right away or wait for a more complete product. So I will leave that up to you. But I think if you love nature, you want to learn, and you want something really cozy and chill, you might like to check out Out and About, which is available on Steam. But we'll also be checking out gameplay together on stream, so if you'd like to see more before deciding, I've got you covered. In the meantime, let me know. Will you be playing Out and About right at launch? Will you be waiting to see some of my gameplay? Is it on your wish list, or are you passing entirely? Anything and everything, you know I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and until next time, take care.